Welcome to Carter's Retro Reviews. I know what you're thinking. Geez, it's been a while. You put on some weight and you lost a bit of hair. But those things aside, I am reviewing Capcom Generations number 1 for the Sega Saturn. Just want to get that in frame there. Looking nice. On the back here, the reason why it's a bit blurry is because I'm using autofocus. And on the back here, if you can see, it's going to take a few seconds because the last 80 tries has always shown me that. There we go. No resale, no copy. At least one of those things had to happen for me to obtain this. Now, is it all worth it? That's the big question. Well, let's find out.
Capcom's quality on releases for the Saturn was second to none. Well, except for maybe Sega themselves. Whenever I have to review a game and I notice it's Capcom, I get rock hard with glee and spare no time at all in playing whatever gem has graced my presence. There are 5 volumes in the Capcom Generation series released on both the Saturn and PlayStation in Japan in 1998. I also have this compilation on the PSP. And the original Xbox and PlayStation 2 got a Capcom Classic Collection which contains these games as well. While this just feels like another cash cow for Capcom, it seems to me that a release on home consoles was a no-brainer. In this particular volume, we're treated to 1942, 1943, and 1943 Kai. I actually think that's how it's pronounced, Kai. Is it? I don't know. The particular name for this release is called Wings of Destiny. Now, cash cow aside, how does this whole package rate? I feel it's safe to say that across all 3 games, presentation is very stock standard. I didn't feel impressed in the slightest, but at the same time, I didn't think it was poor either. Really rock solid stuff, if nothing else, as they got some of the essentials right like font, screen placement, and colour. I think that statement can really apply to both menu and in-game presentation. 1943 and 1943 Kai are better represented in presentation, as you would expect with any successor. I shouldn't be giving points to successors who just got it right. You got 3 years between the releases and it shows. These were arcade games, and if you didn't get it right, it certainly wouldn't have received all the ports it did. Graphics is exactly what you would expect from games released in 1984 and 1987. I guess it goes without saying that the colours are cleaner, more crisp, better defined in 1943 than they are in 1942. Animations are, well, actually pretty good. Really good, actually, in both games. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out in the review, but directly off my old CRT TV, both games look really great. They did an outstanding job of porting these games graphically, at the very least. The ports of the sound are really well done, there's no denying that. However, the actual sound has a lot to be desired, as 1942's sound is just this really obnoxious beeping, and what sounds like army sounds done through MIDIs. Now, I'm not against the old 8-bit sound, but the music becomes very annoying very quickly. They made a huge improvement with 1943 as the music is quite catchy. It's still not great, but it's a massive improvement over its predecessor. The gameplay on all 3 games is more or less the same. It's very standard within the shoot 'em up genre, but there's a few small differences between 1942 and 1943. The way the lives are presented is different in the game, but is ultimately still the same. For instance, in 1942, one shot kills me and I die, but I get multiple lives. In 1943, I can be hit several times before I die, but I only get 1 life. You cannot really say on this fact alone that one game is easier than the other because they both play to that fact. For instance, in 1942, planes would attack me from behind, which felt cheap initially, but after a while it's just something you incorporate into the game. Whereas in 1943, they just throw more planes at you with the chance of picking up shitty weapons you can't destroy with much, meaning that you can die quite quickly. It actually feels harder than some bullet hell shoot 'em ups because with those games, the screen is filled, yeah, okay, sure, but very select movements will get you through. This just barrages the screen with a very strong sense of hopelessness and does it in fewer bullets. Controls are tighter than a fat man wearing a seatbelt. Where's the replay value? Well, it's here, in 2-player, and you have some choice in the versions, which seems to be big enough to really sink your teeth into. Not to mention, it's bullshit hard. If it doesn't send you into a white-hot rage, you'll be back. If you're the sort of person who likes to be fucked while hanging from nipple clamps attached to the ceiling, then that sort of sadistic behaviour will make you feel right at home here. Would I recommend this package? Sure, why not? It's a type of early shoot 'em up that has a real specific flavour to it. It's still fun to play, but I'm sure those who have a much stronger nostalgic attachment to these games will sing it a stronger praise.